Honorable Minister for Railways, Shri Suresh Prabhu, Rajan Navani, the Chairman of the CIS Council on India at 75, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome and good morning. We are delighted to see this response as we talk about India at 75, which is a vision for India at 2022. And this is a work that we started a few years back, actually in 2008, when we, from CII, constituted this movement called India at 75, which was looking at India for 2022. There were many people who blessed this journey that we started, that we embarked upon, and one of the leaders who really gave us the support, gave us the courage to really get into this journey was Shri Suresh Prabhu. And we are so delighted, Sureshji, that you are here amongst us to give us the impetus that it needs to let us again reaffirm our commitment to see how we can work towards an India at 75. And we see you as the Minister for Railways today. So much that is happening, and I'm sure you will talk about things that's happening in the railway front, where you are encouraging many of us to actually get back and travel for both work and fun in this very extraordinary mode of communication, which was almost becoming avoidable over the last few years. But besides railways, we have always turned to you, Sureshji, for advice on many areas. I do recollect very fondly you guiding us on areas like water. When we started our work on water, you really gave us the leadership on power, on renewables, on energy, on climate change, on urbanization, areas where we really dared to venture into and bring industry into synchronization with the work that the governments have been doing. But I must just also mention a few very specific areas which has been, again, of prime importance to us, as we've seen over the last 15 months, the present government, which has actually been so much responding, I must say, and giving us leadership at the same time on some of the various important vision that we had set for at India at 75. But before I come to that, I must say that this year, CII's theme, which is Building India, which is we say build India, invest in development, a shared responsibility. In April of this year, our year is April to March, and this year when we were working towards a theme, and every year CII has a theme, and many times in the past we have also continued a theme beyond a year. But this year, when we were looking at a theme in the month of April, Sureshji, you had come to CII, and you said that you helped us get this theme done. Actually, you talked about building India, and what you talked, which was more important, was the phrase, a shared responsibility. You asked us to add a shared responsibility. I'm happy to say that we did add that word, and since then, this has become a very important mission also for us in the short term. And coming back to India at 75, of which I was talking of some of the various important visions important elements that we started working on 7 to 8 years back. One of them was skills. And we have formed today a portal which is called Skillpedia with the National Skill Development Corporation. And we are so extraordinarily happy to see the type of focus the government today is giving on skills, especially with the formation of a separate Ministry of Skills. The second element of ours was on urbanization. And we did feel when we moved around the country in 2007 and to various states talking about India at 75, and the person who really gave birth to this idea of India at 75 was Professor C.K. Prahalad, who is not really with us anymore, but he was the one who helped us vision that we need to have 500 more cities in India. And the type of focus that we see in today's government in building 100 smart cities is of great encouragement, therefore, to us. The third was an element that we started work on was on pro bono, where we were really getting the participation of citizens in volunteering, giving their time pro bono. And today we see the government's focus on mygov.in, the portal through which they are trying to involve so many citizens. And these are some of the three key elements of India at 75, which has got phenomenal impetus since this government's focus on these three areas in different ways, of course. But our focus also on education is a big goal. We really look at how we can bring in 200 more million graduates by 2022. Then the entire focus on housing is something that we would really like to work with the government. Our slogan of housing for all by 2022 again. These are areas which are thoughts which we would like to really involve each one of you as we go along in getting us to achieve the objectives and the vision that we have set for ourselves in this entire mission of India at 75. And just to conclude, I must say that this week, the week of 18th to the 14th of August, is what we have been celebrating every year as the India at 75 week. This is done all across the country. Delhi is where we have the special privilege and honor of having our Rail Minister, Shri Suresh Prabhu, with us. But across the country, we have this with senior officials from the government, senior bureaucrats, the civil society, industry, academia, and all others, and of course, our partnership with the local as well as the central government. We are really happy to see the response that we have here today, and we are very happy that in this deliberations throughout the day, we will have many more such ideas, and this time, our focus is really on implementation in seeing how we can implement some of these thoughts that I just talked to you about. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here with us, and a warm welcome once again to you. Thank you. With that, may I request our chief guest, our Honorable Minister for Railways, Shri Suresh Prabhu, to address us.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. My friend, Mr. Nawani, Excellencies, and distinguished friends. CI has been persistently pursuing this objective of transforming India when India reaches the 75th year of independence. Very doggedly, with a lot of perseverance and a lot of action on the ground. So I must congratulate you for doing that. I remember you had organized a big event in New York when it was 60 years of India's independence. And India at 60. And that time, I think Mr. C.K. Prahlad was there who said, why only 60? Let us think about India at 75. And somebody can just make a statement, but you followed it up and made it into a mission and have been pursuing it since then. C.K. Prahlad was one of the finest human being that one could meet. Brilliant man, great ideas, somebody who was very committed, dedicated. He taught management, but I think he thought about so many issues which should be looked in from the perspective of management. So he was just not talking about management per se, but thinking about so many issues, how they should be managed. And this was one of his missions. So I would also like to pay my tribute to his memory, and I'm sure we'll move on with this idea. India itself is an idea. If you really look at it, there are so many languages we speak, so many different ideas we have working at local level. We have different religions, we have different beliefs, faiths, we have races, but we always believe in one idea, that's India. So therefore, it itself, to promote India, itself is a great idea to be promoted. And we thus feel that it should be an encompassing idea. Many people look at many issues in India and they feel this could have been better. Yes, obviously this could have been better. But this is probably the first experiment in the world where such large population of now almost 1.3 billion people, 1.25 as per the last official watch, but I'm sure would working overtime, so we have added more. So many people trying to work in a democratic system, trying to transform their own lives, as well as trying to transform society as a whole. It's a very unique experiment. And if you look around neighborhood, countries who became independent, countries who got out of foreign power or got out of feudal power, they have not been able to pursue the same democratic path that we have been able to do. We have never seen any force other than the people's force which has changed the government. And this is something which is a very unique phenomena. And therefore, in this context, at India at 75 or India at 100, whenever, in the next 25 years after that, when we'll achieve that centenary of making this experiment work, it is not just an experiment to be used as Indian context, but it should be a great laboratory of experiment to be used anywhere in the world. And therefore, we look at it as something which we are doing for ourselves, but also in the process, also trying to work with others to make this experiment work, and eventually also share these experiences with others so that everybody should benefit. And I'm definitely sure that nobody will dispute this fact that democracy and democratic values, democratic rights are far more important than anything else. We lost our democratic rights for a very short time. And during that time, people were thinking that things were, in some areas, were working. But when it came to elections, soon after that, in 1977, people voted for, not for anything else, but for democratic rights. And I'm sure that is what has happened in different parts of the world, even recently. The various springs that took place, and we have seen that people have not sprung any surprise, but voted for democracy. So therefore, we really need to continue this process and work on that. Now, the vision that we are talking about in 2022, but I would just go a little bit ahead, say another 25 years. I have said it earlier, I would talk about our Prime Minister's own idea. India is now a $2 trillion economy. And Mr. Banerjee will tell you better than me, is that we added this last trillion in a matter of last 7 years, right? From 2008 to 2015, which were the more difficult years of Indian economy and for the world economy as a whole. The world economy is still reeling under that effect. And so are we, because we are also integrated to the global economy. And in that period, we added 1 trillion. When the situation was more difficult, in 7 years, you could add a trillion. That means you double the economy. So what is not adding a trillion? But first trillion was added in several decades, several centuries, since we started calculating the economic output. And then we added this another trillion in the matter of 7 years. So we can double the economy because of certain growth of economy. That's how we got another trillion, because it doubled the economy. So doubling of economy can happen in the matter of 6 years, 6.5 years, depending upon what rate of growth you are talking about. India is today the fastest growing economy. So obviously, we should be able to achieve that very easily. And today, we have got a fastest growing economy when we have such a huge backlog of what happened in the last 10 years. We have to clear that, put the economy back on rail, and even then, we are doing this. So you can imagine when those issues which are getting sorted out under the leadership of a Prime Minister, once that gets sorted out, you can imagine at what rate India could grow. And then we start growing at a higher accelerated growth rate. In how many years you can keep doubling the economy? See, the same thing happened in China.